Hello folks. I'm back. I'm finally back. We're back together. Power's on, internet's working. Light is bright enough, maybe too bright. There, okay. All right, so I'm sorry. It's been a while since I've talked to you. If I had electricity last week, I would have made some videos for you, but I didn't, so I didn't. But everything's back on. Everything seems to be working now. I think we're back in business. So a couple things I want to get to in this video here. Let's look at this. Look at this. Oh wait, I gotta switch my thing. There we go. Now you can see it. Now you can see. See, we are in actually, technically, we're in week 3, Greece and the Iliad. But quiz 1 happened last week. The problem with that is a lot of you and myself didn't have power or internet last week, so we couldn't take quiz 1. And so I've already addressed this in an email, but I was going to tell you here in the video, what I've done is I've extended the due date, the deadline for quiz 1 and quiz 2 to November 21st. So if you look at a calendar here, that gives you an extra 2 whole weeks to get quiz 1 finished. And quiz 2, actually. Quiz 2 is technically due, I think this week. But I've pushed it to the 21st. So we have some extra time. If you have already if you've already taken quiz 1 or quiz 2 and would like to try again, if maybe you rushed through it, if you thought, well, I have to get it done by the deadline last week, if you would like another shot at it, please let me know, and I'll just delete your first entry and you can try again. Okay. All right. So, quiz 1 will cover Enuma Elish and Gilgamesh, which we read 2 weeks ago. It will also cover Egypt and Africa, which I'll be discussing tonight. And then I'll say tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow I'll have another video talking about Greece and the Iliad. And then here's quiz 2. So quiz 2 will only cover Greece and the Iliad. If we look here, click here. Come on now. Yeah, it only covers Greece and the Iliad, those 2 myths. So that's all you need to know for quiz 2. And then quiz 3, after that, on Medea and Rome. Well, okay, so here's what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to adjust the due date on this one as well, just so that you're not overwhelmed with so many quizzes. So now, all 3 quizzes, all 3 of our first quizzes are due November 21st. So we have a little extra time. We have a cushion, right? We have some breathing room. All right. Okay, so let's talk about these myths tonight. There's a lot to get through here, so I'm trying to go quickly, trying to get through this so I'm not keeping you on video for too long. Talk about Egyptian mythology here. So here's some reliefs. Here's some pictures, some images. Isis with her wings. Isis and Nephthys reanimating someone. That could be Ramses. It could be Osiris. It could be Horus, but we're not quite sure who that is in that picture there. This is Thoth. Remember Thoth, the god of magic and laws and writing. And then here, this one is pretty clear to me. I think I know exactly what that is, and it comes straight from our myth, right? In our myth, there's a god who places another god within a box that has been specially designed to fit him perfectly, and that is Set and Osiris. Let me open up to our myth here. You guys, I'm sure that you understand 100%, but this year doesn't let up, man. Just give me a break. Come on. All right. We can do this. We're professional, grown-up people. We can get through this. Ancient Egypt. So here's some points of interest. Cairo, Major Cairo is up here, along with the pyramids of Giza and the Sphinx, way up here near the Delta. And then if you keep going down, you see Abydos is down here. That's mentioned in the myth. And then Thebes is also mentioned in the myth down here. Memphis is up here. Memphis, not Tennessee, but the original Memphis. So on and so forth. So these Egyptian slides have a lot of information on them. I'm going to try to cut down as much as I can. It was a very long culture, over 5,000 years. It was not obsessed with death, but rather on the value of life. This is a good quote here. Judging by the numbers of tombs and mummies that the ancient Egyptians left behind, one can be forgiven for thinking that they were obsessed with death. This is not so. The Egyptians were obsessed by life and its continuation. The tombs were a celebration of life and a means of continuing it for eternity. Death was a part of the journey of life, with death marking a transition or a transformation from one form to another. When we get to India, when we talk about the Ramayana, that has a very similar reverence for death, right? A respect for death. Death is not it's not a horrible thing. It's not the end of everything. It's simply the other side of life, right? It's a balancing act. If you have death, you have to have life. If you are alive now, then you had to have been dead at some point, and you have to be dead at another point, right? They're kind of like up and down, black and white, forward and backward. They go in hand. You can't have one without the other, unless you're a god and live forever. Skip that. So the mythology teaches that in the beginning there was nothing but swirling chaos, just nothing. And then the great god Atum, who lived there or existed there, spoke creation into being. This is one of our creation motifs, right? I mentioned last week that there are several different methods that existence comes into being. It could be Enuma Elish, Marduk broke apart Tiamat's body and used her body as the foundation for the world. In Norse mythology, when we see the frost giant Ymir, very similar. His body is broken up and used as pieces of the world. But also like this, creation can be spoken into being. And when we get to Africa here in a little bit, we'll talk about a couple other ways that creation is manifested. All right, there's some really good stuff in here. We just don't have time. We gotta book it. Mm-hmm. The role of women was kind of unique for the time. Egypt treated its women better than any other of the major civilizations of the ancient world. They believed that joy and happiness were legitimate goals of life and regarded home and family as the major source of delight. Here we are. So we have Lower Egypt and Upper Egypt. Now, if I was in class with you, I would ask you, well, why is lower on the top and upper's on the bottom? Well, the reason for that is the land slopes down towards the Mediterranean, right? The Nile River flows backwards. It's one of the only rivers in the world that flows south to north rather than north to south. I think. It's been a while since I read that. Don't hold me to that. I don't know. Hieroglyphs. So this is the main writing, form of writing the Egyptians used. And we were able to finally decipher this by finding the Rosetta Stone. There's an image of the Rosetta Stone here. And how that helped us translate the script is that it had the same passage repeated in different languages already. You can see here in Egyptian and Greek and 3 different scripts, hieroglyphic, Demotic, and Greek. So that allowed us to translate some of these pictographs into words that we could understand. All right, so the main characters in this myth are Nut, goddess of the sky and great mother. Atum, or Ra, is god of the sun, creator of all. Geb is god of earth. Thoth, like I said, divine words and laws and magic. Moon and Osiris and Horus the elder. There's also Horus the younger in there. Set and Nephthys and Isis. So Not quite as many characters as we had in Gilgamesh. Or, no, I guess not quite as many as we had in Enuma Elish, but a few. So Nut is the mother goddess, the mother of all. She is literally the night sky. When you look up at night and you see the stars in the sky, that's her body kind of sheltering us and protecting us. So Ra, the sun god, enters her mouth after setting in the evening and travels through her body during the night. And then mother of the 5 major characters in our myth here: Osiris, Isis, Set, Nephthys, and Horus, the elder, again. Thoth was the lord of divine words. He had the head of an ibis. This is an ibis. This is what that bird is. It's kind of a stork-looking thing, like a water bird of some kind. I don't know, a crane, something. He actually enables Nut to give birth. Right in the myth, she is forbidden from giving birth because she hasn't been faithful, and Ra forbids her from ever giving birth. And Thoth finds a way. Life finds a way. What was the scientist's name in Jurassic Park? The main guy with the hat. Whatever. I don't have time for that. Life finds a way. So he helps her. He teaches her magic words. And at the end, he actually saves her from death. Do you remember this show? Are you too young for this show? You're probably too young for this show. This is Tales from the Crypt on HBO. I used to love this show. Anyway, what? Osiris. Osiris is probably the main major character in this myth. Horus the Younger is also very, very important, but I would say that Osiris is a little bit more important here. Associated with the annual harvest, he's both human and god because he suffers and dies. He actually dies in this myth, and they have to bring him back. He was killed by Set twice, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Isis. Why did I put that picture there? Hang on. It's a hilarious picture. I don't remember why it's there. The GIF. I don't remember why it's there. So Isis is the mother of Horus, Lady of Abundance, power over Ra. Yeah, the name thing, I didn't mention that. You go back a few slides, you can read about that. About the names. It's interesting about the names. You can have power over a person if you know their true name. So Set is... Oh, shoot. Don't go back. Set is... He's kind of characterized as an evil character, but he's not 100% evil. He represents the violent and chaotic and inhospitable nature of the desert itself. He has several sacred dogs, and his head is... It's ambiguous. It changes from time to time. It's not always the same thing. It's not the jackal. The jackal-headed is Anubis, which I believe, if I remember right, is Set's son, I think. And then Nephthys. Nephthys is the consort or the companion or the wife of Set. Sister to Isis, mistress of the home. She comforts mothers in childbirth by standing at the head of the bed. Oh, yes, okay. And then her child is Anubis with Osiris. Well, okay, listen. There's a lot of intermingling. There's a lot of becoming friends with your brothers and sisters in this myth. So that's not an uncommon thing. Anubis here, he's not in our myth, but in any major way. But he is the guardian of the world of the dead. He's the one with the jackal head, and he established the practice of mummification. All right, so we have him to thank for that. And then finally, Horus the Younger. He's the hawk-headed god. He avenges his father's murder, kind of. There are some really interesting parallels between his life and the life of Jesus and the life of Buddha. When we get to the research paper or the research project, this is a possible topic you could look into. In the all-seeing eye of Horus, this eye has been used throughout history in a lot of different ways. Actually, it's the inspiration for the top of the pyramid here in our dollar bills. All right. So when we first get into the story, we're hit with some relationship drama. So Nut has not been faithful, right? Nut is the wife or the consort of Ra, and she has not been faithful. Let's see here. She also made love to her brother Geb, god of earth, and Thoth, lord of divine words. So when Ra finds this out, he says, I will curse you. You can never give birth. Those children that you carry with you will never come out. You're stuck with them. Well, that's very uncomfortable, I would imagine. I wouldn't know for sure, but my wife has been there, and she told me it's not a walk in the park. So what's to do? He curses her, and she can't have children. And so Nut goes to Thoth and asks him to help her, and he does. So what he does is he goes to Moon, one of the gods, Moon, and he challenges her to games. She loves games. And he is able to negotiate a deal with her that every time he wins a game, he can take a small part of her light. Every time. And over time, he is able to take enough of her light to create a whole new day. Let me read you that part in the myth here. Yes, perfect. Okay, so this is an example of certain things that I just absolutely love in these myths. Giving mythological explanations for everyday phenomena. The myth says that at the time, a year consisted of 360 days. And through Thoth's gameplay here, he was able to create 5 new days from Moon's light. And that gives us 365 days in a year, which is how many days are in a year now. I think that's awesome. Giving these interesting explanations for otherwise mundane things in our lives, So he creates 5 new days because she has 5 children, and she needs 1 day for each child. All right. So her children are, let me read from here. Where is it? Okay. So, on the first was Horus the Elder. No, I'm sorry. Osiris was first. Horus the Elder was second. Set was born third. Nephthys was born fourth. Where's the... Oh, and then Isis was last. I say that. Hold on. The interesting thing about Set is, again, if we go back to the aspects of hero, the classical hero, unconventional births or unconventional ways of coming into the world. Set was the last to be born, and he wasn't born naturally. It says here, Set chose the time and manner of his own birth. He cut an opening in his mother's side and forced his way into the world. When we get to Native American myths, Good Brother and Bad Brother, Sky Woman, something very similar happens there. That there's a child, an unruly child, an evil child, who isn't born the natural way. He bursts through the side of her stomach. All right. So this practice here is mummification. Right? It's a sarcophagus. It's placing the body into a container to keep them after death. All right. For benefits, well, let's skip that one. Okay. Here is Cairo here, and you can look how green, look how lush and green this is compared to the desert around it. I mean, the Nile River allows many people to live very comfortably in otherwise inhospitable areas. Dim shade morning. Okay, so Set kills Osiris, right? How does he do that? He has a special box or sarcophagus built, and it is designed to be exactly the right measurements to fit Osiris. and he has a competition. He says, anyone who fits into this box exactly can keep it. It's very expensive looking, very, very valuable. And so Osiris tries and he fits. And then Set seals him in there, covers him up, nails it shut, seals him up, and then sends it down the Nile. Right? So that's Osiris's first death. So the box drifts down the Nile and ends up in... Hang on. Go back to our map here. Where is it? I didn't want to go back this far. Abydos. We go down to Abydos. Let's see here. Let me find that in the Melkarthus. Oh shoot, I can't find it. Oh well. Alright, so anyway, it goes down into King Melkarthus's palace. And it becomes lodged in a giant tree, right? The tree kind of grows around it. So he's so fascinated by this giant tree that he actually cuts it down and then uses it to hold up the roof in his palace. It's a column now in his palace. So Isis is able to locate Osiris's box, and well, here's a quiz question. What does Isis have to do first before she can retrieve the box? She has to befriend the handmaidens and eventually the queen herself of Melkarthus. She has to befriend the queen of Melkarthus in order to have permission to take the box back. So she takes the box, she releases Osiris, and she temporarily resuscitates him. Now remember, Isis's father was Thoth, the god of laws and writing and magic, and he taught her some magic words. So she is able to briefly resuscitate Osiris, and during that time they are able to consummate their marriage again and create Horus the Younger. Right? Horus the Younger is the result of this reunion here during that brief time that Osiris comes back to life. Thoth sees Horus's future and prophesies what? Here. Horus will never be far from danger. I will teach you the words of power that will protect Horus from death on earth, in the world above, and in the other world. Right? Those who follow the advice of another live and prosper. You must now escape from the eye of Set. If you hide your child from Set until he is grown, he will become doubly strong. Right? So Thoth is fearful of Set. He fears that Set will come and murder Horus the same way he has done Osiris. So Osiris hides Horus away. Okay. So Isis hides Horus away, and he is able to eventually grow up safely. Right? Set isn't able to permanently kill him. But Set does find Osiris's box, and he dismembers Osiris. He cuts him into a bunch of pieces. Now remember numbers. If we remember numbers... Hang on, where is it? When Isis found... It came to pass that Set was hunting in the desert by moonlight one night when he accidentally came upon the box that Isis had hidden. In a mad fury, the evil god tore the corpse of Osiris into 14 pieces. So 14 pieces. I don't know what's the word? Not meaning the significance. I don't know the significance of the number 14 in this myth, but I'm telling you, these myths use numbers on purpose. These are specific numbers that are used for specific purposes. I just don't know this one. All right. So that's his second death, right? His first death, Osiris's first death, was being sealed away and suffocated in the coffin, in the box. And his second death was being dismembered by Set here. So Isis and Nephthys go and try to retrieve all the pieces of Osiris's body. This is Abydos. This is the city where Isis finds his head. And using their magic, they are able to reconstruct him. All right, let me read you that real quick. So Isis placed all 14 pieces of his body She possessed all 14 pieces of... they arranged Osiris's head, torso, limbs, heart, and organs as they would be in life. They connected the various parts with wax. Then they prepared a long piece of linen cloth by smearing sweet-smelling ointments upon it and sprinkling it with spices that would preserve his body from decay. Well, that sounds very familiar, doesn't it? They're making a mummy. They're mummifying him. And that allows him to return from the land of the dead. They have to go to the underworld to find his spirit, and they are able to actually bring him back. There's a couple baby bears fighting. All right, so Osiris comes back. Horus is made king of all Egypt, and Osiris gives Horus a test to see if he's ready to face Set, see if he's ready to avenge Osiris's death. And the test that... See, do I have it here? Nope. The test that Osiris gives is this one here. Which animal is most useful to a warrior? Horus says a horse. And Osiris says, why not a lion? A lion seems to be more useful to a warrior. And Horus says, a lion is more powerful, but a horse is much quicker. A horse can help a warrior capture a fleeing enemy better than a lion can. And Osiris says, very wise, you're ready, go get him. So, Horus the Younger and Set square off and they start to do battle. At one point in the battle, they turn into bears. See the bears? And they start fighting each other like bears do. I guess it looks like... I've never seen bears fight. It looks like that, I suppose. Less adorable. And someone actually stops Horus from killing Set. His mother does, right? Isis stops him from killing Set. Now, listen to this. Listen to this. Okay. Isis, but once Horus had conquered Set, Isis suddenly felt great pity for him. In her sympathy for her fallen enemy, Isis used her father's magical power with words, "Drop your weapons, Horus," she cried. Horus found himself powerless to resist. So she forces him to stop. Now, there's a few reasons, possible reasons for this. Set is Isis's brother, after all. She may have some, some sibling feelings, brotherly. Well, in this myth, sibling feelings, it takes on a different meaning. But she may feel sorry for him. I like to think that Set representing the desert and the chaotic nature of nature, I like to think that we kind of need him, right? We need a bad guy. We need someone to blame natural disasters on and famines and things. So from maybe more of like a metaphorical standpoint, I would say that Set is necessary because of what he represents in this myth. All right. So Horus, in a completely reasonable reaction, gets upset with his mother for stopping him and cuts off her head. Like you do. That happened to me the other day. But she's saved, right? She's saved. Let me find that. Thoth immediately used his magical words of power to change his daughter's head into the head of a cow, and he quickly attached it to her body. So he saves her by transforming her head into that of a cow and putting it back on, fitting it on there, right? There's a very similar myth like that in Hindu mythology as well, of Ganesh, where Ganesh is the elephant-headed god, but he didn't always have an elephant head. So when we get to Ramayana and we get to India, we'll talk about that. Set has one more plan to try to take power. Let's see here. He tried to acquire the throne by accusing Horus of being an illegitimate child of Isis and therefore no longer the legal heir to the kingdom. He's saying that Horus's real father was not Osiris after all, therefore he's not heir to the throne. But in the underworld... is it in the underworld? I thought it was in the underworld. Thoth convinces them that Horus is indeed the child, and he uses, I think this is very interesting, a great balance scale, and weighed the testimony of Set on one scale and Osiris's defense on the other, right? That's the scales of justice, right? We have a very, very old example of weighing out arguments in a disagreement, right? I thought that was very interesting. Okay. Yeah, okay. All right. So that's Egypt. How long? How did I do? How did I do? 30 minutes. Dang it. Okay. It's not a very long myth. There are some pretty important parts of the myth that we need to remember for the quiz, but I think it's pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward. It's not too complicated, right? Let's talk about the other. Talk about something else here. Yeah, there we go. Hang on. What? Sorry. Sorry, it was my cat. Okay. Talk about Africa. Specifically some particular parts of Africa. Zaire and Guyana and Congo, Nigeria. Turn over to that page in the book. Yo, my book is about to fall apart. I got things falling out of this. I've used it too much. I mean, like look at this. Look, it's coming apart. I got to do something about this. All right. So these are the Yoruba people in Nigeria. The creation of the universe in Ife is what we'll talk about first. So that's where they were located in Africa. Dates back as far as 300 BCE. It's one of the largest African ethnic groups south of the Sahara, and it's not one particular culture. It's kind of a blending of several different cultures and peoples. During the slave trade centuries, Yoruba territory was known as the Slave Coast. And see if there's a picture here. So the Yoruba constitute the largest number of Africans enslaved for labor in the Americas. Came from this culture. The traditions were preserved by slaves taken from Africa, and today have been combined with Christianity in the Caribbean. One example of that combination is voodoo, kind of a mixture of the traditional Yoruba religion and Catholicism. And then after 1865, the abolition of slavery, many modern Nigerian immigrants have come to the United States to pursue educational opportunities. So what's interesting is that most African Americans today share ancestry with the Yoruba people. I thought that was pretty interesting. Here we can see the passage of the ships taking people from Africa and depositing them in the colonies in the New World. A lot of people, 4.5 million in the Caribbean alone. All right. So we have a few prominent characters here in this myth. Olorun is probably the most important one. He's the supreme deity of the Yoruba. He rules the sky. He created the sun. He's kind of like Zeus in this myth, right? What? He's kind of the god of gods. He's the ruler of the gods themselves. Oshun is a fertility goddess. Not in our reading, but I thought it was important. It's the only female deity present at the creation of the universe. And it's a hair plait. I thought hair plaiting was interesting, right? Beautifying the head is important. What is hair? Here, let's look this up real quick. Watch out, cat. Watch out. Watch out. You're in the way. Watch out. What is hair plaiting? I want to see what that looks like. Hair plaiting. Well, there you go. See? I'm an ignorant guy. I don't know what hair plaiting is. All right, so in the mythology, this style originated with Oshun. She's kind of like Aphrodite, right? Unconditional love, beauty, artistic sensibility. Olokun is goddess of water, and the main conflict in this myth is between Obatala and Olokun, right? Olokun is perfectly happy with no humans, no nonsense, no mess. She just wants to rule her watery world by herself. And Obatala says, well, things sure seem lonely down there. Maybe I should create some things. So again, here in this myth, we have a flood. We have a global flood to try to wipe out humanity. Right? We see it again and again and again. Orunmila is a very minor character in our myth here. God of divination. What is divination? That is telling the future, right? Foretelling the future. He's the one who taught prophecy to humans, and he advises Obatala in this myth here. Here it is. There's a chicken with pants. I guess it's a chicken with pants. I guess because there's a chicken in the myth. You know, he takes the chicken with him. So Obatala is the creator of land and human beings. He's the one who goes around and negotiates with the other gods for help. And he exhibits sympathy and compassion for his creations, right? He's closer to humanity than Olorun is because he exhibits some of these human characteristics, these human emotions like sympathy and compassion and regret. Okay, so creation motifs. I've been talking about it. Here are the major creation motifs that we will see in our myths this semester. Division of primordial unity is kind of separating light from darkness, right? So we talk about the yin and the yang is a separation of light and the darkness. This cosmic egg here, when we get to China, we'll talk about Panku. Panku starts existence inside of an egg. He breaks out and then he uses the egg pieces as the world and the sky. What? I'm busy. Conjunction of primal elements is kind of the mixing of earth, wind, fire, and water. I like to think about Enuma Elish here. If we remember the beginning of Enuma Elish, Apsu was the god of sweet water, and Tiamat was the god of salt water. And through the mixing of those two waters, they created Mumu, the god of mist, right? That's kind of a conjunction of primal elements here. Dismemberment we've already seen a couple times in Enuma Elish, in... There was another one. Wasn't there another one? I don't know. Enuma Elish, right? We use the body of Tiamat to create the mountains and the rivers. Deus Faber is God works as a craftsman by creating humans. And again, this is another thing I would draw your attention to, that natural element, right? Even in the creation of the universe in Ife, Obatala creates humans from the dirt, from the clay. When we get to China, not Panku, what is her name? Shoot, the dragon, the serpent woman. Oh, I've forgotten her name. Shame on me. But she creates humans from the soil of the Yellow River. In the Enuma Elish, Marduk creates humans from the blood of Kingu, right? So it's some natural element, most often. Ex nihilo is out of nothing. The god creates the cosmos by using thoughts or dreams. When we get to Hindu mythology, that comes into play. Sound. So this is Christianity, right? God spoke the world into being. He said, "Let it be so," and it was. He spoke it into being. But also in Egyptian mythology, when we just talked about Atum, at the beginning of this swirling chaos, Atum spoke creation into being through voice. Emergence is a little bit less common. We'll see that when we get to the North American myths, where the people have to go through different versions of the world, different worlds that get either better or worse each time before they get to the one that we live in now. And then divine emission, we'll talk about that here in a second, but that's bodily secretion. So that's sweat or defecation or masturbation or vomit or something. We get to Hindu mythology. We'll see that as well. But it's pretty prominent in the origin of life and fire, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. And then, and then a couple more here. Awakening. So an eternally sleeping god may be awakened. Earth diver, some person or god goes down to the primeval sea to bring up land. In the Sky Woman myth, the Native American, we see this. There are some animals that dive down into the ocean to bring up soil for her to rest on, because there's no land at that time. And then sacrifice here. When we get to Aztec myths, sacrifice plays a pretty prominent role there, where the gods actually have to sacrifice themselves to create existence. Okay. Cooperation, great flood, sacrifice. Let's let's keep going here. We got a lot to get through. Okay. So, do we start here? Wait a minute. Oh, no. Okay. All right. So let's talk about this real quick. In the beginning, there is the watery world that is ruled by Olorun. Olorun or Olokun? Dang it. Dang it. Dang it. I think it's Olokun. Ruled by Olokun. Oh, this is the wrong one. Hold on. What are you doing? Olokun. Yeah. That's right. Olokun. And she's just fine with it. She doesn't need any people or land or nothing to mess it up. And Obatala looks down and he says, gosh, that looks... He's living up in the sky with the other gods. And he says, gosh, that looks lonely. You know, I bet Olokun would appreciate some people or some animals or something. And then just decides to start creating things. Didn't ask her. Didn't think to wonder, didn't think to see if, you know, maybe she was okay with nothing. Well, no, it didn't matter. I'll make some stuff. So first he has to get down to the world. And in order to do that, he goes around to the other gods in the sky and asks for donations, basically. Donations of gold and valuable things that he can melt down and create a chain from, that he can climb down to the world. So he does. He finally comes down. The chain's not quite long enough, but he makes it down. And he brings some things with him. Let's see. What does he bring with him? That might be important for a quiz question or something. The gods were sympathetic to Obatala's cause. They gave him their gold, necklaces, bracelets, rings, and even gold dust. All right. So... Orunmila, remember Orunmila was the divination god, the god of foretelling the future, right? He's also a mentor to Obatala here. Orunmila gave Obatala the sand-filled snail's shell, the white hen, the black cat, and the palm nut. So he takes those four things with him. A snail shell filled with sand, a white hen, a black cat, and a palm nut. You're causing trouble here. Quit it. So he goes down and he pours the sand onto the water, and then he releases the chicken, and the chicken scratches the sand in different directions, and that widens the land and eventually creates land for him to live on, because physics. And while he's there, we'll see. Okay, so he has the snail shell full of sand, which he uses to create the land. He has the chicken, the hen, which expands the land. He has the palm nut, that he uses to create palm trees. All right, let's see where that is. Yep. Obatala dug a hole in the dry land and buried his palm nut in the soil. Immediately, a palm tree emerged and grew to its full height. The mature tree dropped its nuts in the land, and they quickly also grew to maturity. Right, so he's creating vegetation. He's creating plants here. And then he brought one more thing with him. He brought a black cat. Why did he bring a black cat? Just because it's nice. Because cats are nice, right? He brought one of these with him because it's a nice thing to have around. And that's it. Okay. So he's down on land and he thinks, I should create people. I should make some people here. This land needs people living on it, tending to it. So he creates them from clay. And as he's creating them from clay, which, by the way, he's doing it by hand, one at a time. And as he's doing that, he's made wine from the palm trees, from the palm nuts. He's made wine, and he's drinking the wine as he's making the people. So eventually, he becomes a little tipsy, a little inebriated, and he starts making mistakes. Right? Let's see here. Obatala drank bowl after bowl of the fermented palm juice, for he was very thirsty. That's not going to make you less thirsty, my friend. He did not realize it, but the wine made him drunk. Obatala returned to his task of making clay figures, but his fingers were clumsy now. The fingers he created were no longer perfect. Some had arms that were too short, some had legs of uneven length, and some had backs that were curved. Obatala was too drunk to notice the difference. In time, he was satisfied with the number of clay figures that he had created. Eventually, he realizes what he has done. He's made these mistakes, and he feels terrible about it. So he becomes kind of the guardian of the different, right? Where does that say? How does it describe it here? I promise, this is Obatala saying with a sad heart, I promise that I will never drink palm wine again. Moreover, I will devote myself to protecting all the people who have suffered from my drunkenness. And Obatala became the protector of all those who were born deformed or disfigured or different in some way, right? I think that's very interesting. Here we have a myth explaining, giving a mythological explanation, telling you why some people are born differently than others. And not only that, but giving those different people enough respect and enough respect that the God himself is actually watching over them personally. He has dedicated his time to protecting those people. I think putting that in a myth is very interesting. It kind of, I would think that it serves to let people know that just because you look different or your leg may be shorter than the other or something doesn't mean that you're any less valuable, right? You are every bit as valuable as the other people that Obatala has created, maybe even more so because of the error that he made, and now he's the personal protector of those people. All right. So eventually Olokun realizes what Obatala is doing here. He's on her world, he's on her ocean world, and he wasn't invited. And so she says, hey, that's great. How about you leave and never come back? So she brings a great flood. What? A flood? What? She brings a great flood to try to destroy all the people that Obatala has created. But this one's a bit different, right? Let's see here. Olokun waited until Obatala had returned to his home in the sky. Then she summoned the great waves of her vast ocean and sent them surging across the land that Obatala had created. One after another, the waves flooded the earth until water once again flowed as far as the eye could see, and only marshland existed amidst the waves of the ocean. People drowned in their fields and their groves and in their homes. So it's quite effective. But she doesn't get everyone. Eventually, Obatala challenges her to a weaving competition. Say, here's how we'll settle this. You fashion yourself a good weaver, a very skilled weaver of clothing and cloth. And Obatala says, if I can beat you, then you got to leave me alone. You got to leave my people alone. Let them live there. Don't bother them no more. And she says, fine. I'm the best weaver in all the land. I can beat you, no problem. But there's a bit of trickery here. Let's see here. So Olorun is the one that is going to battle Olokun here in this weaving competition. And Olorun says to himself, Olokun is a far better weaver than I am. Let's see here. Where is it? No. I cannot give her the satisfaction of knowing that she is superior to me in anything. Somehow I must appear to accept her challenge and yet avoid participating in her contest. Now, how can I do this? Ah, there we go. So he summons his messenger, the chameleon, and he tells the chameleon, go before Olokun, with this message, right? So go before Olokun with this message. The ruler of the sky greets the ruler of the sea. He asks you to display to his messenger samples of the cloth that you have woven. Let the chameleon judge your skill. If your cloth is as beautiful as you say it is, then the ruler of the sky will compete with you in the contest you have suggested. So the chameleon goes down and Olokun was happy to obey Olorun's request. She put on a bright green skirt, and to her amazement, the chameleon turned a beautiful shade of bright green. She next put on a bright orange skirt, and the chameleon did the same in orange, red, and yellow, and other colors. And so she says to herself, if someone as ordinary as Olorun's messenger can duplicate the bright colors of my finest fabrics, how can I hope to compete against the greatest of the gods, right? So she says, fine, I give up. I can't compete with you. You're too good. And that's it. That's the end. So she allows the people to live there. So it came to pass that peace returned between the ruler of the sky and ruler of the sea, and that peace restored order in the universe. Creation of the universe in Ife. Ife is, I thought I had that on the, did I take that out? Oh, I think I took that out. Ife was a sacred city. See back here in the, historically Ife was the principal Yoruba city and was considered sacred. Religious ideas developed there and spread to other Yoruba city-states. All right, so that's what Ife is. All right. Next, let's talk about the origin of life and fire. Okay, so this is a very fascinating picture. Look at this picture. I love this picture. This is one of my favorite pictures. This is the myth. This is the whole myth, right, in image form. So Bumba. Bumba is our god. He's the main god here. And one day, there's a little rumbly in the tumbly, right? He doesn't feel very good. And he throws up the sun and the moon and the stars and all of existence. Just bleh, bleh, get out of there. At first, only water existed, unseen in the darkness. Bumba alone was alive. Then it came to pass that Bumba felt terrible stomach pains. His pains grew and grew until finally he vomited up the sun. Now the sun's rays brightened the world each day. Then it came to pass that the hills climbed out of the water. There, blah, 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 blah. And he felt terrible stomach pains. He vomited up the moon and the stars. Now the moon's rays and the stars' lights brightened the world each night. So that's an interesting way, right? If we go back to our creation motifs real quick here. Creation motifs, divine emission, right? So that's what we're dealing with. Vomit. That God is creating existence from himself. From his expectorant. And all these animals here are part of the myth as well. All the different animals that his sons, Bumba's sons, have created. But you can see, I love this picture. You got the teeth, you got the throat, and just blah. Get out of there. They didn't have Pepto-Bismol back then. So, this originated sometime in the 5th century in Central Africa. It's situated in the western part of Central Africa, south of the tropical rainforest, centered on the Congo River, and primarily hunting and fishing civilization. Here it is on the map, is precisely where it is in the country. If you remember Mr. Iblaka here, he was from the Democratic Republic of Congo. That's where he hailed from. Where is he now? Last I saw he was on, he went to Orlando, and then he went to Toronto, and then, is he on Atlanta now, or Miami? Might be in Miami. I don't remember. I don't know, he's somewhere in there. I don't know. Whatever. Oh no, what happened? That's not supposed to happen. Come back. That's it? No, that's not it. Hold up. That's not supposed to be it. Hair plating. Okay. I guess that's it. Well, let's talk a little bit here. All right. That's not it. He felt terrible stomach pains again, and he vomited up the first living creatures. Okay. He vomited up Koi Bumba the leopard. He vomited up Pongo Bumba, the crested eagle. Let's go back to this picture. I love this picture. He vomited up Ganda Bumba, the crocodile. He vomited up Yo, the little fish. Kondo Bumba, the tortoise. Tsitsi, the lightning. Nyanyi Bumba, the white heron. Vomited up one beetle, just one beetle. And Budi, the goat. So all these characters came from Bumba here. Now he had 3 children. Oh, I'm sorry. Then once again he felt terrible stomach pains. His pains grew and grew until he finally vomited up the first human beings. He vomited up many men and women, but only one man, Lokoyeme, was white like him. So that white characteristic is interesting here. See, does it, I think, yeah, it talks about it in the introduction. In both versions, the creator is a white god, and white can symbolize either death and the supernatural world or purity. It doesn't mean like a Caucasian person. It means the color white, and that is representative of death or purity, or the supernatural. So only one of his children was white like him. Okay. Where is it? Oh, I thought this is fascinating here. So this is the first time that we get animals creating animals. Okay? Listen to this. So Nyanyi Bumba, the white heron, created all the birds that fly through the air. Ganda Bumba created the iguana and all the serpents. Budi created every horned animal that walks the earth. Yo, the little fish, created all the fish that swim in the streams and oceans and lakes and rivers and seas. And the beetle created all the insects that fly through the air. I thought that was fascinating, that the animals themselves are responsible for creating their own food chains, essentially. Their cousins and different genus, species, family, tree, whatever. But the animals themselves do that. I think that's very unique to this myth that I've seen. So he had 3 sons. Bumba's eldest son fashioned the white ants, but then he died from the strain. His middle son created a wonderful plant that scattered its seeds through the earth, and from these seeds grew all the trees, shrubs, and grasses. So Bumba's second son, his middle son, is responsible for all the vegetation of the world. And then his youngest son wanted to be a creator, but wasn't very good at it. So the only thing he made was the kite. Is the picture of the kite on? It's not. A kite is a kind of bird. He created one kind of bird. So, the creation of the universe was now complete. Except, Tsitsi the lightning, this one right here, caused trouble. It came to pass that Tsitsi started many fires on the earth. And so Bumba told her that she would have to live in the sky. But even from the sky, she could still reach out and strike the earth. So, all who live upon the earth fear the fires that she causes. But the problem is, once Bumba banished Tsitsi to the sky, the people no longer had reliable fire. Bumba's human beings had to live without fire's gifts. They had to eat their food raw, and they could not make good tools. And so Bumba fixes this. I love this part. This is my favorite part of the whole myth. He teaches the human beings how to find fire. Not how to make fire. You don't create fire. You find it. It's already there. It's there. You just got to find it. Listen to this. He taught his people how to find the fire that lives in every tree, and how by making and using the fire drill to take this fire home with them. The fire is inside the wood. That's my favorite thing of this whole myth. That somehow you just have to let it out. You have to split the wood, and the fire will come out of the wood and burn up the wood that way. That is awesome. I love just little things like that are so interesting to me. All right. That's about it. We close out here with kind of a speech about really what this speech at the end of the myth is. The purpose of this is to remind the human beings what they have to be thankful for, to always appreciate the things that Bumba has given them. For I, Bumba, your creator and first ancestor, have created all the wonders that please the eye and the ear. I have created all the wonders that please the nose and the tongue. I have created all the wonders that please the hand and the foot. And as if that were not enough, I have created all men and women and all the animals that live in the forest, field, and stream to live in peace with one another. And so, men and women, rejoice. Rejoice in your vomit world. Now, normally I have a couple questions about this, but one particular question I was going to bring up was, what do you think, knowing the origins in this myth, that everything came from Bumba, from his rumbly-tumbly, how do you think that changes, or how do you think that affects the human being's perception of themselves and everything around them? I would say, I would argue that it might make them a little bit more appreciative of the world and their fellow people and the animals themselves, because everything came from the same source. Everything was generated, was created from Pumbaa himself. And so everything has that distant connection to it, right? So anyway, I was going to bring that up. We'll have other myths in a couple weeks that have similar ideas, similar settings. This is the only vomit myth that we have, though. Unfortunately, there's just not enough vomit in these myths. I don't know. All right. I'm not going to do Greece and the Iliad today. The Iliad is kind of a long... Well, it is a long one. The Iliad is a long one. And going through these two myths here was an hour. Shoot. Okay. I'm going to let you go. I'm not going to hold you anymore. Remember that all three of the first quizzes... Let me look at 4 real quick. Actually, yeah. All four of the first quizzes are due November 21st. So you have 2 whole weeks to catch up on your reading if you need to, and to take these quizzes. Any questions that you have, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to help you out with anything I can. If you still don't have power or internet, please let me know, and we'll work something. We'll work something out. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But that's it. That's all I'm going to keep you here for tonight. Thanks for listening to me ramble on about interesting stuff, and I'll see you next time.